Cane farmers in western Kenya and surrounding areas can finally breathe a sigh of relief as sugar factories reopen after months of closure. Our reporter Alan Ochanda sent us this report earlier on. Let's take a look.
Remember that cane farmers have witnessed no cane crushing for the last 4 months. This is the longest ever because, of course, normally when the cane crushing is normally suspended, maybe it's normally due to repairs of the factory, but this was occasioned by the decision by the Agricultural Food Authority occasioned by what they termed as cane shortage. Of course, cane is the raw material for sugar production, and so here in Western Kenya, we have almost 7 cane millers here from Mumias, West Kenya, Butali, and the other private millers here. And so whenever such suspension is actually witnessed here, the farmers really count losses, because at the time when they were suspending cane crushing, some farmers had mature cane. And so by the time of resumption, of course, resumption is Friday this week, Friday, which is actually 1st of December, the farmers who had their mature cane by the time of suspension of the crushing now will actually be counting losses because of the low sucrose content, because of course the mature cane has actually over matured, and so the sucrose content really depreciates. And so let us speak to some of the residents here who also are cane farmers here in Kakamega County. Maybe just tell us your name, and of course we're now witnessing the resumption of cane crushing here after a 4-month break. Of course it comes as a relief, but what does it mean to the cane farmers here in this particular county?
Okay, my name is Rafael Welima Makoha. I'm a farmer in Matungu, Block 35 for Mumias Sugar Company. And we are glad that so far now the factories around are reopening for crushing. But we are not quite impressed for the delay, although it has come too late after we overstayed with our cane on the farm. Now, this is a great move from the government, though, but we are a bit skeptical because when the president was around here, that was the time they had suspended the crushing of our sugarcane. And I'm speaking particularly on behalf of the farmers of Mumias Sugar, we're glad the cases were withdrawn and therefore they paved way for the operations at the sugar factory. But let Kenyans remember, and the farmers in this region know, that by that time the president not only promised that there should be no case, but that he was also going to give us a new investor. Now, a new investor meant that the current gentleman who is there was supposed to vacate office and have somebody else who is more farmer-oriented to take over. I'm saying so because the current one, and anyone who can dare to go to the ground, will realize that what this gentleman is doing, and until up to yesterday, the sugarcane he's harvesting from the nucleus, which he planted as seed cane, he's simply using it to expand the nucleus for himself. No farmer has ever been approached. He didn't even call us to tell us that now he's reopening. All we saw was a reading, and then we also, I think, as farmers, want to appreciate the efforts that have been put in by our elected members, especially the governor and the members of parliament who took the memorandum to the president the other day.
Maybe, Mwalimu, you are talking about the investor, but we're also talking about activating the farmer database. Remember that the factory nucleus cannot single-handedly sustain the operations of the factory. But of course, the database, expanding the database of the farmers. Do we have concrete measures to ensure that we have those farmers in their thousands, as it were in the yesteryears, to ensure that they sustain the operations of the factories?
Not at all. By the time the factory closed in those years under the hands of the manager who was there, we had across board over 60,000 farmers that were contracted to Mumias Sugar Company. But today, as I'm speaking, the bitterness of it all is that we, the farmers, have been left on our own. Some people think that when you are left on your own in farming of cane, then you will be able to get maximum profits. No, there is a lot of inputs that is required for you to get the best harvest. One, the type of seed cane that you're supposed to put. Two, the kind of fertilizer, and all those other inputs. Now, today as we speak, the farms of the Wangas, the farmers that you are seeing there, the sugarcane that you are already seeing in existence, are self-sponsored farmers. And there is no one who has even tried to come up and help us on it. Not even the county government. They have gone to sleep.
Nice. Thanks so much, Mwalimu Elimo here. Maybe also just speak to your colleague here. You'll just tell us your name. We are expecting that in the next 4 days, 5 days, we shall be seeing a reopening of our operations in the sugar millers from West Kenya, Nzoia, Olepito, and Mumias Sugar. Maybe as a resident and a farmer of cane here in Kakamega County, how do you receive such news?
First of all, I'm Musungu Ngaira, a resident of Kakamega County. I'm happy when the government said that they are reopening the factories. But I was quite sad because they didn't address the real issues of shortage of sugar cane in Western region. First of all, we should have changed our policy because where people have been using to cultivate sugar, it has been converted into residential. The few lands that we see in Mumias, in Malava, they are very decimal as compared to the previous years, meaning that in a short while we shall still experience the shortage of canes to our factories unless the national government and the county government sit together and address the real issue about sugarcane farming. These are the move they have done. I will term it as political.
Maybe on that note, remember that we've had the sugar conference, we've had the one-way bill in parliament, we also had that task force report that was actually chaperoned by the former governor, Wycliffe Oparanya. All of them have that common denominator, cane production, cane development. Remember also when the president was here, when he was at Nzoia, when he was in Kakamega, he talked about cane development. But you are here saying that maybe so far we've done almost nothing in as far as cane development is actually concerned. But in your individual capacity as a farmer, maybe have you been contracted by any factory? What efforts have you put to ensure that cane development, yes, in your single capacity, that is actually now at par to ensure that we as farmers, you as farmers, sustain the operations of these particular factories?
First of all, I will say, we as farmers, it is expensive to cultivate sugarcane farming because the input, the manpower and other things are quite expensive. So we actually want the government to subsidize even the seeds of canes. They are not available and they are not even telling the farmers which types of the seeds that the correct one to be planted so that you can have a maximum production. The way they are doing about maize, the way they are doing about coffee, they should also do it about sugarcane farming. And also, they should change the policy. You know, even if you go to Mumias, you'll find that most of the lands have been demarcated into quarters. So you cannot cultivate a quarter land of farm and expect to reap maximum. So the government should change their policy that farming land should be remained for agricultural land. It should not be converted into settlement areas.
Thanks so much. Well, Fathia, listening from the farmers here and residents of Kakamega here, they are too, but they are quite informed on the practice of cane farming. Because, of course, when they were born, they got it here. Or maybe except for Mwalimu Elimo, who was maybe in his teenage years when the factories were being set here. Because like Mumias was set up here in 1972, but he was born before that particular time. And so really speaking to the issue of cane development, if there is no cane, then we shall still be going back to that suspension of our cane crushing operations by the respective millers here. But the bottom line from the sugar conference, the task force report and also the one-way bill in the National Assembly, they were all speaking to the issue of cane development. And of course, that is actually the common denominator. That is actually the foundation of cane farming. Remember that we've had the shrinking of land, and of course the land that was actually used as the main factor of production of this particular crop here that is actually used as a raw material for that crucial